Well, hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwen, writer on TV Times, TV and Satellite Week and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 4th of October 2024, including the hit Disney animated sequel Inside Out 2 on Disney Plus, and the return of Greg Davies' sitcom The Cleaner to BBC iPlayer.
We'll also be checking out ITVX drama Joan, starring Sophie Turner as real-life jewel thief Joan Hannington, and Paramount Plus horror series Apartment 7A, featuring Ozark's Julia Garner. It is getting to that season after all. But first, Ian, tell me what is in the news, please.
Rosamund Pike will star in and executive produce a Netflix corporate thriller, Thumblight, set in the all-powerful tech industry in Silicon Valley in California. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, I heard a trailer for this the other day. It's quite exciting. It's a Disney rockumentary which will be airing in December, and Elton John will reflect on his colourful life and long career, including his battles with addiction and the challenges of his early years.
A decent selection this week, Hannah. I think I liked every single one. We're going to start on Paramount Plus with a new horror series which arrived on Saturday the 28th of September. It's called Apartment 7A. And here's a clip.
There's something wrong with these people. I think something happened to the girl who lived here before me.
They did ungodly things to her. And now they've chosen you.
What do you mean? I need to know what's happening to me.
Well, Hannah, you're far too young to remember the Roman Polanski film Rosemary's Baby, starring Mia Farrow, about a young pregnant woman who suspects strange goings-on in her apartment block, devilish behaviour. Well, this is a prequel to that film. It's set in the 1960s, and it takes place inside the iconic Manhattan Bramford apartment building, and it stars, one of my all-time favourites, Julia Garner from Ozark. If you haven't seen Ozark, which is available on Netflix, it is fantastic. And she was absolutely the breakout star in that series. Although it had some big names in it, she absolutely stole that series, and she's done really well ever since. Anyway, so it starts off in slightly unexpected style. So she is a chorus line dancer. She damages her ankle doing a jump on stage, but she still wants to work. So she has an operation, but she's going to auditions, and she's taking these pain-killing pills so that she can somehow hobble her way through these auditions. She meets this elderly couple. Now they're played by Diane Wiest, who is fantastic. The elderly couple featured in the original film, and they were neighbours of Mia Farrow's. And Kevin McNally, the brilliant Kevin McNally, they bump into her literally and sort of take her under their wing. They've got another apartment in the building. They say, they take pity on her. Say, you can live there. We own it. We don't want any money. And it's nicely done because she's on these painkiller medication. You're not quite sure when things start going a bit weird whether she's imagining it because she's on the meds. Anyway, I don't really want to say too much more because strange things are going to happen. But Rosemary's Baby was a film classic, a really original horror movie, and this sort of stays quite true to the kind of vibe of that original film. Julia Garner, as always, is absolutely terrific in the lead role. Diane Wiest, I think, is absolutely having a ball as this old lady who lives along the hall. So, recommended. What did you think, Hannah?
Yeah, it's the time of year, isn't it, for this kind of, supernatural stuff to be happening. And I think it was quite a brave thing to do to... it's a slightly different twist on the original, but it is obviously a remake of it, and I think it's always quite brave to do that, isn't it, when something's been so well received the first time, for it to come again, and people will have seen the first one and will obviously measure it against that. But I do think it's quite different. And Natalie Erica James, who was the director, said that she kind of approached this project with a bit of caution for that reason, that she was kind of dubious, but actually remaking such a classic film was a concern to her, but she's done it, and she said that she sort of played with the whole genre really, and played with the characters, and as you say, you know, that they're really well cast characters. It's really credible, it's really believable, and at no point did I think, do you know what, why did you do this? Which you quite often do when things are remade. So yeah, certainly the time of year for it, certainly plays with your mind, certainly will creep you out, and definitely worth a watch.
We move across to Disney Plus for the animated feature film Inside Out 2, which of course was released in cinemas, and it's actually been available on the platform since Wednesday the 25th of September, so we're a little bit late to the party with this one. Anyway, here's a clip.
Our little girl's growing up so fast. Ow. Sorry.
It should be nothing but smooth sailing for...
Hello. I'm anxiety. Where can I put my stuff?
A new emotion.
Oh, I'm sorry. We wanted to make such a good first impression.
What do you mean we?
I'm Envy.
Look at your hair.
Well, we're very lucky today in that we have a special guest on the Binge Watch podcast who is going to talk about Inside Out 2 for us. Hannah, tell us more.
Well, yes, this is Florence, my daughter, who has watched Inside Out 2. And I'm going to ask her a few questions about it so that you have the inside track on it. And she will tell you how she feels about it.
So Inside Out is about emotions that girls and boys feel in day-to-day life. And it shows us how to deal with our emotions and what emotions basically are, and to show that it's okay to have those emotions, and how to control them. There's lots of different characters and emotions. So there is anxiety, hate, joy, sadness, embarrassment, envy, and disgust. And Riley is the main character that feels all those emotions. And they all mean different emotions to Riley. And Riley is the girl that feels all those emotions, and they can see when that emotion's going to occur. And let's say Riley is feeling sad. Sadness is going to feel sad because she's an emotion in Riley's body. Inside Out means what's happening on the inside is happening on the outside as well. I think it's good for children to see this.
Why is that?
Because it could help them deal with their emotions and make them feel a bit better about their emotions and learn about them.
And what did you learn from it?
I learned that you don't have to be embarrassed, let's say, and you can, and how to control your emotions. And I learned that it isn't a big thing if you don't know how to control your emotions, but it taught me how to control my emotions.
And do you think boys and girls will like it?
Yes.
I think boys and girls will like it.
I think boys and girls will like it. Because it's for both genders.
Well, I don't think there's much more to say about that. What a wonderful review. So thank you very much to Florence. And yes, I love the fact that the new emotions of this unfortunate teenage girl include anxiety and ennui, and of course embarrassment.
It's funny how the children describe it though, although they find it so incredibly relatable, and I think Disney's kind of hit the right note with this, really.
Absolutely. Well, we now move over to BBC One and BBC iPlayer for the welcome return of the comedy series The Cleaner. It arrives on Friday the 4th of October as a box set. And here's a clip.
I'm a crime scene cleaner.
Crime scene?
We don't just do murders, we do accidents as well. We do murders, though. Here we go!
You're in grave danger.
Hey! Risky business is back, baby!
We both love Greg Davies, don't we? Who was on Strictly, wasn't he, on Saturday night? And I love Taskmaster, I love Man Down, and I love The Cleaner. So if you haven't seen it, the first series is available on BBC iPlayer. But as the title suggests, it's about someone who cleans up. He's called Wicky, played by Davies, who writes it, of course. He's a very good writer and comedy performer. And his job is sort of cleaning up crime scenes. So I know it doesn't sound very funny, but it is. So each episode is kind of an anthology series in a way, because in each episode he's going to a new location. There's been a new crime or accident. As he explains, it's not always murders. And so there's a whole new cast that he gets to interact with. Anyway, in this first episode, it's a great idea. So he goes to this very posh house where there's been an accident, and a piano, I think a piano was being kind of hoisted up the hallway to go upstairs, and then it fell on someone. Anyway, it turns out that the house is owned by an old school friend of his, played by Ben Wilbond from Ghosts. He plays the military man in Ghosts. He's terrific. Wicky is, well, not entirely happy that his old mate from school is now incredibly successful and wealthy. He doesn't deal with it very well. And it sort of sparks a bit of a school reunion, because they need someone to do a bit of carpentry, and Wicky says, well, what about our old mate from school, you know? So a couple of the other schoolmates turn up and they start reminiscing about the old days, and it becomes apparent that the way Wicky remembers what he was like when he was at school, which was he thinks he was like a real rebel and really cool. That's not what happened at all. So yeah, I mean, Davies, he's reliably funny. I just think this is a great series, and he's brilliant in it. It absolutely plays to his strengths, and he gets some terrific guest stars in it. We've got Rosie Cavaliero in the first episode. You're going to have Steve Pemberton. You're going to have Gemma Whelan and Vicky Pepperdine in an episode about pregnancy and childbirth. You're going to have Conleth Hill from Magpie Murders in an episode which sounds great, where he and Wicky are trapped in a Victorian lighthouse. Brilliant. And you'll also have one called The Housekeeper, starring Sharon Rooney. So yeah, this series is a delight. And if you're a Greg Davies fan, well, you're just going to lap it up, which I'm sure you will, Hannah. Are you a fan?
Oh, I'm such a fan of Greg Davies. I find him so funny because he's one of those comedians, well, not in this specifically, but kind of when you watch him generally, he laughs at everything. He's got one of those funny faces. Do you know what I mean? That he's just so warm. I mean, I don't actually know what he's like in real life, but he looks like the kind of person that's just so much fun to be around, and he's just kind of got this wide, smiley, beaming face. He just makes me happy. So I was delighted to watch this again, or for it to come back, I should say, and for it to be just, I mean, it's just absolutely brilliant. And the part is completely made for him. His kind of dry sense of humour kind of rings through the whole thing, but also some kind of emotion as well, which you don't usually get to see. And I sometimes think it's difficult for a comedian to cross over into the acting world, although it does happen, clearly. But this is just absolutely perfect, isn't it? And if you like him, you will like this. There's just nothing not to like about it. It's written by him. He's in it. It's just absolutely made for him, and just the whole kind of ridiculous scenarios he finds himself in, the kind of the jealousy with his friends. It's just, yeah, it hits the right note. It's great.
We're going to finish over on ITV1 and ITVX with a new drama series which arrived on Sunday the 29th of September as a box set. It's called Joan, and here's a clip.
What do you want, Joan? You love all this, don't you? Dressing up, pretending.
Job satisfaction isn't a crime.
Well, the rest of it is.
Yes, this is absolutely great. I love it. The more I watched it, I kind of was thinking to myself, why do I enjoy this so much? And I think it's because quite often, in a lot of dramas, like this, it's men that are the thief. It's men that are kind of doing, the are the baddies, for want of a better word. And in this, it's not. In fact, the Game of Thrones actor Sophie Turner takes the lead role, and it's based on a true story of real life jewel thief Joan Hannington, and it's really brought to life in this drama. And to say, she plays the part of Joan Hannington, and she does it so well. It's really quite a sad story. She's with a husband who is no good, doesn't treat her well, and she has to get away from him in the end with her daughter. And she makes the incredibly difficult and heartbreaking decision to hand her child over into care, which I think anyone watching it would find incredibly emotional to watch. I certainly did. It's set in 1985, so I suppose there was maybe a different feeling around that time. There perhaps less support for somebody in that situation. But she's in a violent marriage. There is no option. She has to run away. She goes to London, and she's got to start a new life. But she does that, and to make money, she does it by becoming a thief. And she starts this new life once she's sort of handed over her daughter. She starts this new life with an antiques dealer who's a professional thief called Boise Hannington, played by Frank Delane. And firstly, they're sort of partners in crime, and then it goes on to be more. And I think, as I say, I mean, Sophie Turner, when she was interviewed, she was asked what drew her to this role, and it was the fact that she was a young woman so capable of pulling off some pretty major crimes, and that's exactly what she does. And I don't want to give away too much, but she's incredibly clever, and I think, she goes and she learns the trade, she knows what she needs to do, she goes and gets a job in an area that she really has no understanding of, and it escalates and escalates and escalates. And I think, from a lot of things we watched and reviewed, there seems to be a sort of, I think it's a sort of addictive pattern with something like this, where the more you get away with it, the more you want to do it, the bigger the job, etc., etc. And but with her, there's a sort of underlying thing, which is she's doing everything for her daughter. She's making money for her daughter. She has some incredible outfit changes, some incredible new looks throughout the whole thing. Has got quite a scarred body, I think, from what her husband had done to her. He was very violent. So there's some real sad bits. And you find yourself wanting her to be a successful thief, which, of course, is altogether wrong. But just because she has such a story, because you want her to succeed in getting her daughter back. And she's got a very a warm personality, as Sophie Turner in this. She comes across as very, very likeable, and you feel very sorry for her when really, she's a common criminal. But I thought it was absolutely brilliant from what I've seen so far. What did you think, Ian?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. ITV have got a real corker on their hands here, so I think it would be very easy to kind of overcook this, but it's really well played, I must say. And it's kind of the story of a woman who is sort of repeatedly painted into a corner by awful men. So first of all, because her husband has stolen a load of money from some gangsters, she has to abandon their house and take the daughter into sort of foster care because they're both in danger of being killed because of the husband. And then she manages to get a job. She's very resourceful. She managed to get a job in a jeweller's by kind of genning up on gemstones and pretending she's an expert, and it's really well done. But the guy who runs the shop is a real predator as well. So she's then forced to take more drastic action. You can just see, I mean, her friend who owns a hairdressing salon, who briefly gives her a job and somewhere to stay, just talks about, look, Joan, you mustn't bring your chaos here. And it just seems that despite her best intentions, Joan's life is chaotic, but that's not always caused by her. It's often caused by just dreadful men kind of preying on her, taking advantage of her. But yeah, as I say, she's resourceful. I mean, she I won't say how she does it, but she hits on an ingenious way to steal her first diamonds, let's put it that way. So yeah, the period detail is good. It's good to be back in the 80s with all the hairstyles and fashions. I was very pleasantly surprised. Well, Hannah, we've got to that time where you find out what the hell you've been binge watching this week.
Well, of course, Strictly is back on our screens, and of course I was watching that, and it's always sad, isn't it, on the first week to see the first person being booted off because they don't make it to Blackpool, and it just feels such a shame with their first week and their journey, and it's all over. So yeah, I did enjoy watching that, albeit tainted by sadness. And of course, if you're anyone who's anyone, you will have probably tuned in to Castaway, starring none other than Philip Schofield after his hiatus from TV, after his departure from television amongst a lot of column inches, which you can easily read up on. But yes, he is back, and it won't surprise you, the headlines around it. It was feel a bit self-serving in places, I would argue. It felt like it was his opportunity to have his say, which he felt he hasn't had before, although he did do an interview, I seem to remember, while puffing on a vape a lot. And he looks very sort of dishevelled, you know, he's got a sort of beard, and as you'd imagine a castaway to look, really, is exactly how Philip Schofield looked. And he seemed to mock the "Are you okay?" line that Holly Willoughby said in that sort of frankly quite vomit-inducing speech that she did on This Morning that day, he seemed to take a bit of a hit at that, which I've sort of wanted to high-five him about because it was pretty atrocious. But separate to that, it was relatively self-serving, actually totally self-serving. It didn't go down brilliantly well with the public, but if you want a laugh, worth having a look at, I'd say.
Well, I had plenty of Strictly to catch up on after my holiday, and as a Spurs fan, may I say it's an absolute travesty that Paul Merson didn't get voted off. But there we are. He's the comedy dancer for this series, so he'll probably be staying in for much longer than he should. And of course, Strictly back in the headlines with the results of the inquiry, in which both sides are claiming victory. Of course. So yeah, loving it though. What a great group of dancers. Super stuff. Now, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offerings. So what's on the binge watch menu, Hannah?
Well, Michael Socker plays an arrogant cop accused of a fatal hit and run as courtroom drama Show Trial returns on BBC iPlayer.
And Kate Blanchett and Kevin Kline, good pairing, star in gripping revenge thriller Disclaimer on Apple TV Plus. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, Florence,
keep watching.